All right, thank you all for being here. I want to start off before we get into the game. Start off with something on a positive note. I want to congratulate Coach Nealon. I know they got announced. Known for a little bit, but I think it got announced last week about his name going to be up in the stadium, and what a well-deserved honor. I'm really happy for him, his family, and so I think Tony was telling me it was Coach Nealon's first job was at Cincinnati, correct? The first team he played at WVU was Cincinnati, and now name's going to be put in the stadium on a full-time basis against Cincinnati. So one of the best people I know, and he's been great to me, so I'm very, very happy for him. Turning it back to our game, something I'm not real happy about. Really disappointing loss to a good Oklahoma State team. And I think they played well. They've played well 3 weeks in a row. They're a good team, and Mike's done a really nice job with that group. Small margin for error in the Big 12. You've heard me say that. Fine line. We're could be 6-1, but we're sitting here 4-3. And the reason behind that is, we had leads in the fourth quarter the last 2 weeks, and we haven't finished. We haven't finished very well, particularly on defense. Haven't played well at all in the fourth quarter. I think the biggest stat from the game on Saturday for me was 17-0, and that was points off turnovers. We created two, one on special teams, one on defense, and we turned those into 0 points, and they got 17. They jumped off to 10-0 start based on 2 turnovers from us offensively. So I think that was the big stat takeaway. Kind of recapping the game, I'll talk special teams first. Our field goal block team continues to be really a strong point. We got pushed and affected that kick there at the end of the half. We blocked a punt. I think we're one of the leading teams in the country in block kicks so far. Our kickoff coverage was better. Still maybe not good enough, but better than it was against Houston. And I thought Ollie Straw bounced back. Probably had his worst game of his career versus Houston. Bounced back, 45.3 net, which is elite. Missing too many tackles on kickoff, and that's really a lot of the same culprits that are missing tackles on defense. And then the penalty turnover, I talked about it after the game. That should never happen. Should never happen at this level of football. Just very poor. And so defensively, quite simply, just wasn't good enough. Our D on the positive side, I thought our D line played better. He did not play very well against Houston, but I thought they bounced back, and most of those guys played better. But we played poorly at outside linebacker, at inside linebacker, and safety. And those are all your leverage points on defense. And we didn't at our spear and our spur. We didn't do a good enough job of maintaining leverage and using our hands. At safety, we didn't fit the run. We let their motion affect us more than it should have. And then our linebackers, we got too close to line scrimmage, and then we missed tackles, and we got out of gaps. And so just did not play anywhere close to good enough at inside linebacker, outside linebacker, or safety. We had 16 missed tackles, and I may be being kind. We may add more, but I know we had 16. Our run defense, it was not anywhere close to what it needs to be. And that kid's a good player. I said here last week on Monday and talked. I said I think he's probably the best kid we've played against, running back wise. And he's really good, and we gave him a lot of air to run in. And so, and then a couple killer penalties. We had a unsportsmanlike by Lee. Like, we had them at 2nd and 12. We just had huge momentum, got a kickoff, tackled him, I think, the 16-yard line, -2 on the first play, and he gets that penalty. And then Ben's late hit. That was a good call, and it was late, and had 30 yards on that one play, which was, was killer. And that was on a drive they took the lead. And just overall, I think the takeaway from defense is like we have to be better fundamentally. And so if you look at it, like when we played good defense, there for the stretch where we had Pitt, Texas Tech, and TCU, all three of those games, we played quality defense. And Texas Tech and TCU are both TCU had their quarterback. They were playing really well on offense. Texas Tech has played well on offense, and we played really good fundamentals. And that's where it's really fallen apart against Houston, particularly in the fourth quarter, and then last week in the fourth quarter. We're not leveraging the football, and we're not keeping our edges, and that's the. And then we're not using our hands, and that's why we're getting some yardage on perimeter screens we shouldn't. And the last thing is we got to run our feet through contact. It's pretty elementary stuff. It's things that we've done well, and that's why it's really frustrating. It's disappointing because we've done it well on tape, and we didn't do it well in the last two fourth quarters, and it's cost us. And so we have to get back to really some of the basics this week and do some things that maybe you wouldn't normally do during the season, but we're going to have to do that this week to get ready, because I'll talk about Central Florida here in a second, but it's not going to get any easier from a tackling standpoint. Offensively, I thought that Garrett continues to play at a high level. He's getting better. You can see his confidence. He had 3 really costly plays. The interception, he threw that double move into cover 2. He should have hit Cole or just ran it. That was a bad decision. He knows it. Missed a touchdown when we had to kick a field goal there, 27. When we tied it at 27, we really had a touchdown play. He just came off of it too early, and then he had the pull when he should have handed the ball off on 4th and 2. But other than that, man, he played really well. Ran for over 100. He continues to throw the deep ball. A lot of explosives. I thought we were good on 3rd down. We've been really good in some 2-minute mechanic stuff. I would like to finish that drive the other night. But I think he's playing well, and we're getting our passing game going with some of our run stuff. So, we got to continue to build on that. I thought we left 17 points out on the field. Cole's fumble is inexcusable, should never happen. And he's got to play better. Devin can play better. I think both those players are really, really good players, and we need them to play. And then, we got to start faster. Really disappointed in that. And then I already talked about we got 0 points off 2 turnovers. So there's plenty we got to work on that side of the ball too. Kind of flip it over. UCF, known Gus for a really long time. It's the first time I've ever played against him. He's done a really good job, and he's done that for a long time at several different places. A couple things you can always count on his teams is they're going to be able to run the football, and they play physical defense. And that goes back to whether he's at Arkansas State, whether he's at Auburn, now at UCF. We got an early kick, which, we practice in the mornings now, so that's not as big a deal as it maybe used to be. It's going to be hot. It's good. We're going to have a nice week of weather here. It's going to be in the mid-80s at kick there. It's going to be in the mid-70s here for most of the week. So don't expect that to be an issue, but we got to prepare for that. And both teams need a win. I think, but they're coming off one of their better performances. I thought they played really well in Norman last week against, a team that's probably one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country right now. If you look at them special teams wise, they got an Australian punter, so they'll spray the ball all over. Dangerous returners. They're one of the running backs, number 0, is he's super, super fast, and he's had a couple plus 50 returns, and he's going to be a threat for us. And I feel like I say that every week, but that's the challenge. They're one of their slot receivers, number 3, Towson, is their punt returner. He's a threat also. Offensively, they're a spread team. They're going to tempo. They're a run first, but they're hitting some explosive passes. Plumlee's back. He's dual threat. He's really fast. He throws the ball from a bunch of different arm angles. You can see the baseball, a lot of the same things I say about Garrett. We talk about arm angles and quick release. His back, he's still playing baseball, and you can see that in his game. Kid's a winner. This is one of the best rushing teams in the country. Herb, who I know some of y'all know, he's their offensive line coach. He was here early on with Rich. And he's done a good job running the football everywhere he's been, and so they're creative with it. You gotta defend the whole field. They're going to use a lot of different motions and things like that to get the receivers involved in the run game. And then we got to handle tempo. Texas Tech played fast, Oklahoma State played fast, TCU played fast, Central Florida's going to play fast. So we've got to be able to handle that. And Defensively, they played their best game, in my opinion, versus an Oklahoma team that's really good on offense. That's the best they played the run. I thought their defensive front is they're long, they're big in the middle. They've got a really good pass rusher, number 3. This is probably the best corner tandem we've played since Penn State. 2 long guys, one's 6'3", one's 6'1", 6'2", and they're going to lock them up and play man coverage the whole game. So we've got to build. We've been getting better at press. We got a huge challenge for us this week, and for us, it's just about getting better. We got to continue to put ourselves in positions to win in the fourth quarter, and then you got to close out games. You got to be able to close out games, and that's what this league comes down to. It's what it's going to be like on Saturday. It's what it's going to be like for the rest of the games we play this year. And so, wish we played right now. And so we need to get back and have a great week and get down to Orlando and put a better product out. So with that, questions.
Go back to defense a little bit. 2-part question. First of all, you haven't gotten a ton of pressure the last couple of games. So what there? And then the second part is, I know you don't have a lot of bodies, but is there any thought of personnel changes in what you're doing?
So we're really limited. I'll deal with the second one first. Is we're extremely thin at linebacker and safety. So what we have is basically what we have. I think Caden Beiser is going to play in this game. We're going to get him in early. I think our linebackers played too many snaps last week, so we're going to he'll play early in the game. And that's about what we have at linebacker right now. It's safety. The safeties that have been playing are going to play. We'll rotate the 3. Floyd being the third one. He'll also play some nickel, and that gives the spear. But at those positions, that's what it is. What it is. Riley Collins could play a little bit at that spear also. But those are thin positions, and so we just got to play better. There's not other people to put in right now. And then what was the first question?
Pressure.
Yeah, pressure. Yeah, so talk about Oklahoma State first. Oklahoma State is really difficult to pressure because they get the ball out extremely fast, okay? And Bowman, he gets a lot of depth. It's kind of one of the few quarterbacks that he does the back pedal drop, and it's hard to get there. And anytime you pressure, we 5-man pressured, we just didn't get there. And we get caught in a zero pressure, and that's when they hit one of the huge runs in a zero pressure. So you kind of darned if you do, darned if you don't. And but we didn't get enough pressure on him at Bowman, but they make it really hard for what they do. And then in Houston, we just didn't play well, up front. We had plenty of one-on-ones, and we just didn't win them.
Similar to what they do with Plumlee and McLean, or different?
No, similar. I thought McLean came in there and through that stretch played well. He played for Trickett down at South Florida last year, and I thought McLean did a good job down there. I think he played some late at South Florida, but he's athletic too, and he can move, and so you don't necessarily prepare differently. Plumlee's just got a lot more experience, and you can tell he's there. I could tell at media days. He's got. He's the leader of their team, and those guys feel confident with him out there as they should.
Now that you've been able to watch it, because you want to do that after the game, do you have any further thoughts? And you talk to those involved about what happened with the punt return and the bobble with Fox?
No, we just ran into it. It's this. I'm not oversimplifying this. Is when you're playing that jammer, you've got to play your man, and you got to peek the returner, and it's a drill that we do, and just didn't do it, and he ran into him. That's about as simple as that.
You mentioned Spear, Lance Dixon.
Yeah, he was suspended for that game, kind of to be determined.
Did you practice yesterday?
Yeah. So we came out yesterday. We've been practicing on Monday mornings. We practiced yesterday. I just wanted to get that game out of our system. Yeah, so we came in last night, and we practiced. We did our normal Monday morning practice. We did it last night. Used today as our off day, and we haven't done that this year. We bounced around a little bit last year with it, and really I just felt like after the game, I wasn't very pleased with how we finished the game, and I just didn't want to put that much dead time in between it. So we brought him in last night, kind of flushed that game, and and moving on to Central Florida.
The effect, I guess you'll wait and see, but what do you look for as far as a response to that? Just turn the page and
yeah. Well, I think it starts on Tuesday. Like, I said this, kind of different, but really, I mean, those are two of the more unique games I've ever been a part of. Like, never had a Hail Mary. I've had one at the end of the half. Never had one at the end of a game, and so that was unique. And then I don't think I've ever had a game where you're ahead and then all of a sudden the wheels completely fall off defensively like that. When they hit. I mean, what do you have? Do you have 100? How many yards do you have in the second half? In the fourth quarter, 130? 149. 149. And so new territory for me there. I hope I don't ever have to deal with that again. And so. I think it's more the response on Tuesday. Tuesday and Wednesday kind of leads you into Saturday. And I said this after the game. I really don't think there was a hangover in that game. From the Houston game, I felt like if there was a hangover, we would have never overcame that 10-0 start. If we were a group that was really fragile and feeling the effects from the end of the game at Houston, I don't think we would have had the resiliency to bounce back and actually take the lead and go into the fourth quarter. That game would have got away from us. So I credit our guys in a lot of ways for that, but we just didn't finish. And so, I believe in this group. We played quality football in all three phases. We got to get back where we play all three at the same time. If we don't have the penalty on the punt return of the day, we're talking about how good we played on special teams. Because we really, I listed all those things. We played really at a high level special teams. You take out one play the other night. You force a takeaway, you block a punt, you create a missed field goal. There were some really good things, special teams, but you're only judged on your bad days. We talk about it all the time, don't have any. And so all anybody can remember on special teams is we ran into the punt returner, all right? And that's fair. And so we played really well on special teams minus that play. At times the last 2 weeks on offense, we've been really, really good. And I think there's still room for growth there, as our receivers continue to mature and get better. And then defensively, we showed it during a 3-game stretch. Now we got to get it where it's all at the same time. And if we do that, then we've got a chance to win every single game.
EJ Worthley guys made some plays the past 2 games. Mm-hmm. You guys going to continue to see more time?
Yeah, he'll continue to play, and he played his most snaps in the game on Saturday, and he'll continue. He had a little shoulder injury that he's bugging, but he's practiced for about 3 weeks in a row, and you can tell the reps he's getting better, and he can really run. He gives us a whole different dimension when he's out there.
Starts in the game. Mm-hmm. Your profile is about the same first quarter, third quarter. Same number of points. Yeah. Not scoring more than one touchdown in any game there. I'm sure you've looked into that and tried to come up with some answers. What's going through your mind about those threats?
So the third quarter, let's start with the first quarter. So the first quarter, that's something that's really one of the more head scratching deals, and so we're attacking that. And so one of the things we're gonna do this week is just the opening drive of the game is we're gonna work it from tomorrow on, and just where the kids we can give them every single look they could potentially get on the opening drive, and hopefully we feel better about that. I think part of it, and this isn't an excuse, I just think what it is there's a little bit filling out process of how people are going to play us. Where's their seventh hat going to be in the run game? And there's a little bit of cat and mouse there, because are they going to, how are they going to play us in 11 personnel? Is the seventh fitter going to come from the boundaries? Is it going to come from the field? How are they going to play some of our base run schemes? In 12 personnel, are they going to stay in their base? Or are they going to add another D lineman? So there's a little bit of a cat and mouse there, where once you figure out what they're doing, then you got better answers. And there's some just where we got to execute better. but it's noted. We're making some changes, and hopefully we won't have to talk about that on Monday next week.
Michael Hayes.
So Michael Hayes is fine. He had that and it ended up being a cramp when he tried to get up. So that was odd too. What it hurt us because he couldn't kick the onside kick, and so Hudson too early. He got rolled up there on our touchdown in and whenever our first touchdown was, he got rolled up right there. So too early to tell. I would say doubtful unless he makes some good improvement. No. He'll play. I mean, doubtful for Saturday. I think it depends on what it looks like tomorrow. Tomas is going to be available. Yeah, he's going to be available. Whether he'll start or not, it'll be how he does Tuesday and Wednesday. But he'll definitely be available to play.
Running back rotation for you guys.
Justin Johnson earned more playing time.
Yeah,
he earned more playing time. And Jaheim, we need to play. We got to break some runs. Justin got downhill fast and was really decisive. Jaheim's got to practice better so we can play him. Because he's the one that can really hit home runs, and that's, we're blocking pretty well. And there was a couple. If you go back and watch the game, there's a couple that could have been big ones. Especially early in the game, where we're getting 6 or 8 yards. But man, those can be home runs.
About the need to save games, have a chance to win the fourth quarter. Ultimately, how difficult is it to win when you don't win the turnover battle?
Yeah, it's hard. The ones that are frustrating are the one Cole Taylor. That's a frustrating one, and then obviously the special teams one is frustrating. You're gonna throw some interceptions when you throw the ball downfield. You're gonna throw some interceptions, so you can live with those. I'd rather him not. He knew better than doing that, but you're gonna have some interceptions if you're gonna throw it down the field. It's just one of those things that you got to be okay with. But we haven't fumbled the ball on offense very much, and that was that was just not taking care of the ball, and you can't do that. And then the special teams play that like I said, I don't know how much clearer I can be on that. That should never happen, but it's hard. But it's really not the turnover. And I think I said this maybe in preseason or last spring. It's not as much about turnover. Turnover is important. It's about what do you do with turnovers and that points, and that's where we really lost the game. Is they turned the ball over twice too. The difference is we didn't score any points, and if you look back, you lose 14 and the turnover point differential is 17-0, pretty big telltale.
Is that part of why the loss to Oklahoma State stings more? You mentioned that stung more to you than the Hail Mary loss.
Well, so the reason that stings more is, all right, we had in the fourth quarter, we got 24-20. We get a great stop, all right, and we got the ball to go. And at that point, I think we'd had 3 drives in a row where we kind of went up and down the field. And I felt like we were really getting ready to take control of that game. And then we run into our punt returner, and then they score. So it's 27-24. And then we answer again. We go down, tied back up, 27-27. And then we have 3 runs that where we misfit, and that is where I have a really hard time because 3 explosive runs, not just, and we ran, and on 3 of them is the first one is we misfit it. The second one is we have 2 guys that should have really viced the ball right there, and he just runs right by us. And the third one, we have a free hitter that runs right by the ball carrier. Just bad defense. And so really frustrating for me because I thought the game against a really good team was winnable, and we had it, and I thought our kids showed resiliency, and then we just didn't make the plays down the stretch.
You mentioned Gus's success.
Mm-hmm.
You think about the schools he's been at and the amount of resources, the difference between those schools. What's the through line for him, do you think, that he's been very successful at 3 kind of different places?
Yeah, so, I think if you go back to his roots, I think, and he'd probably be better to answer this on his own, but, he's a really successful high school coach, gets a coordinator an opportunity, goes to Tulsa, does a really good job. From there, goes to Auburn, and has a guy named Cam Newton, and he's pretty special. And so he goes to Arkansas State and back in his home state, and in 1 year turns that, and then goes to Auburn, and they played a national championship game. And Auburn's a hard job, and he did a really nice job there. And then going to UCF, and that program's been on the rise, for the last 8-10 years since Frost was there. And so, the one, like I said, I think the things that are really consistent with him is he's always been able to run the football, and his defenses have played really physical. And he's had some really good coordinators along the way defensively, but I think those are the real two staples for him, is running the football and being physical up front on defense.
The feeling out stuff in the first quarter you mentioned, how much of that is teams determined to complicate your running game and maybe acting out of character?
Well, they're muddying it up. Yeah. So if you want to go, I'll give you, just because it refreshed my mind. So Houston played a lot more bare front. And they added a fifth D lineman when we went 12 personnel. It's not something they had shown. They did a little bit a year ago, but not this year. So that takes a minute to adjust. Oklahoma State came in and it really played Oliver on the line of scrimmage more than he played at any point. And we're really trying to mesh charge, and which takes a little bit of time because you gotta slow that down. And so, yeah, some of it is in the run game, you got to see how people are going to play you, and then you got to have some answers and some counters off of it. But like I said, it's a little bit feeling out, but it's also we got to have some better plays, and we got to execute better early in the game too.
Can offenses, this may be too simple analysis, but can you do something to surprise?
Yeah.
Or you just kind of are what you are, and you just maybe
No. I think from a schematic standpoint, from a scheme standpoint, I think this, as you get into this point of the year, what you do in the run game schematically is basically what you do. What you're trying to hide is emotions and shifts. You're also trying to, who you're reading. You can mess with who you're reading, or if you have any option principles off that. And we try to be a little bit different. We try to be a little bit different each and every week. And our second and third drives, we've been all right, but we haven't been very good on our first ones.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Yep, thanks.